Welcome to a very special episode of Brainscratch Searchlight. I'm John Lorden. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Part of the way I work is my first episodes will initially go over the press of the case and try to give kind of the public's point of view on what's happening with the case. And quite frequently, we will be contacted by friends, family members. Of course, that's a big part of the comments, and there were so many good comments on last week's episode. I've actually worked some of those into the interview here today. Today, we are very fortunate, and honestly, for me, it's an honor to be able to help families that are in this situation. We have Cieha Taylor's mother, Kenetha Taylor, and her sister-in-law, Portia, with us. So let me go ahead and bring them onto the show here. There we go. Hi, Kenetha.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us. And hello, Portia.
Thank you. Hi.
So before we get started, I just wanted to give you guys a moment to talk about the last episode. Was there anything? Now, first of all, let me apologize to you directly and on camera about the fact I didn't realize I was saying Cieha's name incorrectly. So it is Cieha Taylor. I was saying Cieha Taylor through that whole last thing. So I'm sorry about that. Is there anything else that was not quite correct in the last episode that we need to address?
Not that I can think of. I think you hit some really good points, especially concerning like them starting the podcast with the sheriff's department because it was new.
Yeah.
We were very grateful for that.
Yeah, no problem. I think I also heard that in the description, and I might have been reading it off of NamUs, but Cieha is actually biracial also, right?
Yes, she is biracial.
Okay, yeah.
Her father is black.
Just wanted to be sure
Caucasian.
Wanted to be sure to clear that up because I think on NamUs they just had her listed as Caucasian as well. So obviously Cieha's been missing
everywhere.
Yeah. Cieha's been missing from Plant City, Florida for about 6 months at this point. Now, was she actually living in Plant City? Did we get that part of it right as well?
She was what you consider couch surfing between the boyfriend and her friends. But her address is here in Dade City. When
I do finally get a chance to talk to the family members, I always like to try to learn more about the missing person. Sometimes there's things in their personality that can come out or give us a better understanding, but I also find that it really helps people connect with the story a bit more. So can you tell us a little bit more about Cieha, just about her hobbies, her interests? I got a pretty fun dose of her personality from the YouTube video, but what is she like as a family member, as a friend, as a daughter? Let's start with you, Kenetha.
Okay. She loves the way she wants to be loved. So she loves 100, hard, and she's very affectionate. She's an avid reader. She loves nature. She's very bubbly, and that innocence that she has for people, and she sees the good in everybody.
Yeah.
And that's what, most people want to be around her because of her bubbly, upbeat, optimistic personality that she has.
There was so many people that certainly associated with that just from seeing that little clip that we played of her. What about for you, Portia? Is this a sister-in-law that you get along with?
Definitely. I mean, we have a lot of fond memories, especially, like back in the day when she was younger. We both loved going to the beach when we lived in Florida. So, it would be us going on the weekend to the beach, and everybody that knows Cieha thought she was a mermaid. So she loved the water. So, she would just be out there for hours and hours and didn't want to leave. But, and just to go back off of what Mama said, Cieha loved everyone. She saw the good in everybody. She never saw the bad in people. And she would literally give you the shirt off her back. If she knew that someone was struggling or if somebody was not feeling good or feeling down on themselves, Kaya always was there to, you know, lift somebody's spirits. Like, it gives me goosebumps talking about it now because her future was just so bright. Like, you know, everybody wanted to be around her. Like, you know, going to a party. The party didn't start until Kaya got there. Kaya was the party, you know.
Yeah.
You know, always joking, just having a good time, you know, quoting lyrics to songs or, you know, whether it be movies, just always having a good time. Like, when she walked in the room, you knew Kaya was there.
It's amazing to hear about that part of her personality, but then it also does raise a question in terms of sometimes people are too open to other people, or sometimes that might be a personality trait that might put them in some type of situation that we don't want to be in. Of course, we all want friends like that. We all want people like that around, but every now and then there's certain people that know how to exploit that in others. Do we think
Exactly.
is that part of what we think is going on with her disappearance here? Do we think that that part of her personality might have been kind of played upon?
We definitely do. You know,
Yes.
like in the past, we feel like Kaya was misguided by acquaintances or people that she met, you know, who she thought were her friends, but they didn't have her best interests at heart. You know, like Mama had mentioned earlier, Kaya loves the way she wants to be loved. So she gives 100% to everything, to every person. And she hasn't always gotten that back in return.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, you also touched on something about what a bright future she has. Do we know, I know she's very young and she's probably still figuring these things out, but do we know what she wants to do with her life? What type of occupation, or where was she aiming? Kenitha?
She was all over the place, I have to say, because she was a late bloomer, and she did have some college. She did graduate early from high school and had some college behind her. But as far as where she wanted to go with it, she was all over the place. But as far as like continuing to try to even self-educate herself, if you will, by like reading and learning, she loved to write. She's even performed like live written word performances. So to narrow it down with her, there wasn't like she wanted medical field, or then she talked about teaching, or then she talked about she loved kids. I do know that. So having a daycare.
Yeah.
So she was kind of all over the place. And it goes along with that late blooming, trying to figure it out.
So where was she at the time that she disappeared? I recall that she's working at this time, right?
Yes.
Okay. And what was
She
she
has
doing?
a job at like some telemarketing. It was some telemarketing company.
Okay. Okay. And was there any signs that anything was going on in her life that made you guys uncomfortable at the time that this went down, or did it seem just like kind of Kaya's usual?
There's part of it that was her usual and her making bad choices, but there were some things that is odd because of like she just got the car in November. I bought it for her birthday. She had gotten this job and she opened another savings account. She already had a checking, but she opened a savings account. I remember her calling me not even a whole week before her disappearance, and she said, "Oh, I've opened a credit union savings account." And I said, "That's good." And then she was filing her taxes, so she'd come by and picked up mail from me because, like I said, choices she was making in her life, me and her would bump heads on it a lot.
Okay.
Especially, you know, with the boyfriend and not accepting of that choice she was making. But as far as her and what she was aiming for, it seemed like she was trying to head in a better direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just to piggyback, can I just add, when I made the statement like bright future, what I mean by that, Kaya could do anything she put her mind to. She was a quick learner. Anything that she was interested in, she'd learn every single thing about it. She'd know every single thing about it. So when I say she has such a bright future. She's talented. She musically, she's inclined. She's artistic. She would draw. She do the spoken word and the poem. So that's what I mean by when I say that. Like, the sky's the limit to endless possibilities of things that she could be doing in her life.
Yeah, yeah. Did you, Portia, have similar feelings about the relationship that she was in? And just to be clear, his name hasn't been released publicly yet, but we're going to refer to the boyfriend as Jason if we do need to use a name other than boyfriend. Portia, did you hear anything about Jason or know about some of the disagreements that Kenitha was having with Kaya about this relationship?
Yes, definitely. Everything that we heard or, from Kaya firsthand or, from Mama, it didn't seem to be good. It didn't seem like he had her best interest at heart. It seems like she looked at him as a boyfriend figure or someone that she loved and she desperately wanted to be with. Like we all know, Kaya loved kids. She wanted to be married one day. She wanted to have her own family, but we did not see those qualities in him. It was a very toxic relationship from what we saw and what we heard.
What was what were you seeing in terms of who Jason is that made you think that maybe he wasn't the right guy for Kaya?
I think for one thing is when you're in a relationship with someone, you go out and you do things. You go on dates, you go to family gatherings and get-togethers. That was never reciprocated to Kaya. He would only come by the house, after dark to see her, or they'd hang out, after dark. It was never anything that was publicly done. And I'm a millennial too, so I'm in the same age range. We're only a few years different in age, so I know how that goes when it comes to having titles on a relationship. A woman might feel one way about a guy, but a guy doesn't feel that same way in return. But he's not going to necessarily say that to her. He's going to lead her on because she's doing something or giving him something that he wants too.
Right. Okay. So obviously some big challenges there. And this is a change, right? I mean, before he's around, she is going to family functions. She is around these types of events regularly, right?
Yes.
Definitely, yes.
Okay.
There was a huge change in her demeanor and, just how she interacted around certain people or handled certain situations once she got into a relationship with him.
And how long were they together?
Well, I would say 2 years off and on of this play relationship they had. But I think she's known him 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
From my recollection, from especially now, asking friends and, trying to reach out to people, I knew of him. But never, we've never sat and had a conversation with each other.
Right.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Mom and you're Jason. That never corresponded between us.
Yeah, that never happened.
Okay. Now, I know that it seems like we're pretty focused, and of course, knowing the details, even the slim details that we do about this case, I think it's hard not to be focused in the direction of the boyfriend. But thinking outside of that bubble just for a moment, was there anyone else that Kaya had mentioned having trouble with or any disagreements that she was going through at the time that she disappeared?
No. Not outside of that circle that she ran within Jason, her, and acquaintances inside that. Okay.
So this is also, it's not just her and a boyfriend. This is a whole social circle that kind of comes with that you guys are also not really pleased about, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Do you guys think there's some type of drug use that's going on with this group, or what's the main thing that concerns you about the group?
As far as we know, we just basically know that there was some shady stuff going on. As far as in-depth details, or we don't, have those to share with you right now at this time.
Okay.
Due to the, nature of the case and protecting the case.
Sure. So let's try to go over that day. Do we know what her plan was for that day? What she did earlier in that day, And then I'm also very curious about like, where's the house? Like the house that the boyfriend was being dropped off at, was that where they were living? Was that someone else's house? Like, I don't understand the details around the actual disappearance that well either. Do we know what she was doing earlier that day?
So basically, family-wise, myself, my husband, and Mama Taylor were the last family members that we were aware of that saw Cieha on Monday, February 3rd.
Okay. After
that, we had not seen her, spoken with her, and that wasn't out of the usual. She's an adult. She's not living at home, full time, like Mama said, due to, disagreements or whatnot and lifestyle choices that she didn't agree with. So she was, staying with a friend at the time. So it was a couple days that had passed. And then actually on Thursday, Mama had called her to check in on her, and she didn't answer the phone. And I remember talking to her this day, and she was saying, I've called Cieha and she didn't answer. But didn't think anything of it because, if she didn't answer, then she's busy. And when she gets a chance, she'll call you back.
Right.
So when we found out that Thursday was the last day that she was actually seen once the police investigation started, then we tried to do a timeline of ourselves. And then we found out that Thursday morning, she had actually taken her boyfriend to work that day. And she was kind of just like hanging out around that area. And one of the pictures that has been surfacing around of her as one of the like last seen photos was a picture that she had actually taken on her phone on Thursday morning.
Okay.
And so she just kind of hung out until he got off from work in that area. And then she picked him up from work. And as far as we know, from what we've been told with the, police doing their investigations, she dropped him off at a friend's home, which is like his best friend who lives in Plant City, less than a mile from where her car was found abandoned. The home was his friends who lived there with his parents, but apparently they have like a detached garage that they would, all go in and hang out at.
Okay.
So she dropped him off there, supposedly, and Jason, his friend, and his friend's father were the last person to see her at 4:00 on Thursday afternoon. So as far as we know, no one saw her, no one spoke to her, and then all of a sudden around 7:00, the Plant City Police Department get a phone call that there's a car abandoned on the train tracks.
Right.
Less than a mile away from that house that she dropped him off at. So the police department comes, Plant City PD comes, and then when they come, they realize that it's Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office jurisdiction. So this is where it gets cloudy at too, and no one has really given us this information, and we've asked numerous of times. So according to what we have been told, the Plant City Police Department, they sent an officer out, and since the car was running and it was on the train tracks and it was obstructing traffic is what I believe the exact words that they used, the officer got into the vehicle, moved the vehicle to the side of the road, locked her keys, her phone, and all her belongings inside, because then we later found out that her cell phone was actually on the ground next to the car.
Oh.
So the cell phone was on the ground, the car was running, keys in ignition, her purse, everything inside the car. The officer gets in, throws the cell phone on the front seat, moves the car off the train tracks to the side of the road right in front of the tracks, locks the door. I guess around that time, maybe the sheriff rolled up, saw that the car was moved off the tracks. They went on their merry way. License plates were not ran. So the car was just left on the side of the road.
So this is obviously a big point of, well, first of all, I remember bumping into some information about this, that no one was really sure about who actually moved the car. And it's like, Plant City's pointing this way, the sheriff's office is pointing that way, and we're really not sure who the person is that actually did it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That raises...
And they won't release the name. They will not release the name of the officer who did it. I mean, we've asked to see documentation for proof, for policies and procedures. When you find a car abandoned, what's the protocol? How do you approach that situation? I mean, something is certainly like odd if you find a car running on a train tracks,
yeah,
and a cell phone's on the ground. You obviously can tell it's a female's car. She's couch surfing at this time, so she's basically living out of her car as well. So you can clearly tell there's woman clothing in there. there's a person there. And the simple fact that there was also another missing woman at this time who had just went missing 2 weeks prior, 7 miles away from where her car was found.
Right.
It just blows our mind to think that all those red flags were going up and nothing was done about it. There was no investigation. There was no looking into it. It was a simple run the tag, see who the car is registered to, contact that owner, find out if everything's okay. Nothing was wrong with the car.
Yeah, that information seems like it would be hugely important, especially if this shifts out of a missing persons investigation into something worse. And of course, we hope that that's not the case. But the status that the car was in at the time that it was found by law enforcement, where those items were exactly. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if they wear body cams out there, but if there's footage from the officer actually engaging the scene, that could be helpful in terms of an investigation. Mm-hmm. Very curious that they're being so tight-lipped about giving you guys the information about the officer. Are they at least acknowledging that they know who he is, but they're just not telling you?
They're not even acknowledging that. And you know, I don't want to say the funny part, but the thing that takes you over the top that's even more mind-blowing is the police department, the sheriff's office didn't even release those details to us right away. The only way we found out that the officer actually moved her vehicle off the train tracks is once we went out there and did our own search and we started the Finding Cieha page on Facebook.
Yeah.
People who lived in the community reached out to us and said, "Oh, I saw an officer move her car that day." So then it was like, "Oh, okay, well, they didn't tell us the officer moved her car." So then it's us calling to find out, well, why weren't we informed that an officer actually found her car on Thursday and moved it? They told us they didn't even have like a case number or a call log or anything to even show who made the phone call to say that a car was found abandoned. And like, there has to be some kind of record of that. Like, yeah. I know that our justice system isn't that, I don't even know the word to say, but it's just mind blowing to think that we don't have our ducks in a row when it comes to something as simple as that. Like when you call into 911 or the police department, there should be a reference number or a confirmation case number, something associated to every single call that goes into that station.
Yeah, that's part of...
I wanted to say something about that too.
Yeah.
Just jumping in. The way this case has been handled for us as a family, it's like the sheriff's department is not that advanced. I've even made that, remarks of it feels like we're back in the Western days of how things are being handled, when we know it's really not that way.
Yeah.
Everything's documented.
Yeah.
That was my 2 cents.
No, it's a good point. And at a minimum, there should be some way for them to look at when the call came in and then contact their phone company if they didn't write it down themselves and actually get that phone number, contact that person back. Hey, who did you see out there that actually moved the car? It's frustrating because I look at cases all over the country and sometimes all over the world, and we just see different departments running in completely different ways, using completely different systems, and I don't know why. There is certainly a best practice for some of these things, like logging all the calls that come in, that I know some police departments are doing and some sheriff's departments are doing. And then you've got other ones that are saying, no, we don't have the manpower or we don't have the systems to do that. But in a case like this, that information seems pretty important. I mean, the first person to lay eyes on the vehicle, what if we're talking about a situation where this is an abduction? That information about what they saw when they came upon the scene could be so strong and so helpful with an investigation like that.
Definitely. And that's why, in a sense, we feel like the police department and the sheriff's office kind of failed us in a way, because we all, watch all these shows that tell you when it's a missing persons case, the first 24 hours, 48 hours are the most crucial.
Yeah.
So her vehicle was found on Thursday afternoon or Thursday night at 7 p.m. So a couple days roll around and, mama's calling all friends. We're reaching out to everybody. Hey, have y'all seen Cieha? Have y'all talked to her? No one's seen her or talked to her. All of a sudden on Sunday, one of her friends gets a call from Jason saying, hey, Cieha's car's on the side of the road. So immediately red flags go off.
Well, hold on a second. Who found her car?
So apparently Jason called one of her friends and told her that the vehicle was on the side of the road. Now, mind you, the car was less than a mile from where he was at. So if you go to that area, there's only one way in and one way out.
Yeah.
So if you're going to the store, going to the gas station, or going to work or wherever, you're going to pass.
Yeah.
They knew that car was on the side of the road for 4 days. They did not report it.
But when the
even
information
common
comes
courtesy.
in, it actually comes in from them still. I mean, so
The information came in from Jason on Sunday night. He called one of Kaya's friends who had reached out to him to say, hey, have you seen her, talk to her, to tell her that Kaya's car was on the side of the road. So at that time, she went to the location where the car was at, called mom and was like, yep, Kaya's car's on the side of the road. Looks like her cell phone's on the seat. The keys are there. So at this point, this is Sunday night. So, Sunday night, her friend goes down there. Her mom goes with her. They call AAA. Still us not knowing what's going on. Mom was just concerned, like, okay, well, the police haven't put any tickets or anything on it. So, like, this is weird. How long has it been here? So the friend, not necessarily thinking either, gets in the car and drives the car back to Mama's house, which is in Pasco County, 45 minutes from where the car was found in Plant City. Takes it to the house. And then, for some reason, immediately, it just something clicks in Mama's head. And she was like, something's not right. Kai wouldn't leave her car. Like, this is not right. So she called Pasco County Sheriff's Office, because she lives in county jurisdiction where she lives at in Dade City. So she called to file a report, and I'll let her give you a little more information on that. I just know that she called the Pasco County Sheriff's Office. They did send some cars out to take a missing persons report, but then once she told them that the car was found abandoned in Hillsborough County, Pasco County basically didn't want to have anything to do with it, even though she was a resident of Pasco County.
Yeah.
So that's how it didn't end up getting reported until Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office until Monday, February 10th.
Now,
at that point,
yeah,
that's when Hillsborough County got involved. They sent out helicopters, canines, search squads. But at that time, it's already been 4 days. Also, over that weekend, it was a huge storm that came through. So it was torrential downpour of rain. It was real windy. So at that point, if there was any type of evidence or whatever, we feel that it's gone by then because we've already lost 4 days.
In the 4 days before the missing persons report was filed, have you been able to verify that Jason called anyone asking where she was?
No, we haven't.
Okay. He didn't call you guys?
No,
because we didn't have communication like that.
Okay.
But he also, as far as we know, we don't even know if he actually even called Kaya's phone. So that's also very strange. This is someone that you're talking to multiple times a day. You're hanging out with, during the daytime. And for you not to try and contact her for 4 days or be concerned about her whereabouts, that's also very strange and suspicious.
Are you hearing that from investigators, or do you have access to her phone records?
You know what? Well, I'm not going to be able to answer that due to protecting her case, but we do have confirmation that it did not happen.
Okay, that's strong enough for me, and I totally hear you on that. Do we know if the last place where she was seen, the parents' and friends' home, do we know if that has been searched?
So here's another thing. So, not to knock the detective that's on her case now, because he's been very good at communicating with us when he can and certain things.
Sure.
But he did not get her case until, was it 10 days after the fact?
10 days.
10 days after the fact, he got her case. So I feel like when we are asking certain questions, we're not always getting straight answers, but he did mention in one of our conversations that they did search that residence, but he did not tell us if anything came of that search.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to hear that they at least searched the residence, because, you have to start backtracking. The car, I've seen so many cases where people leave things in certain places, and it's like you never know if the person was actually there or if the car was moved there to, give you guys the false sense that this
Yes.
is where she was.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Plus, I did see that there were some comments from, I guess it's the father, as well as the friend, that it seemed like she was having some type of emotional distress or she was really upset when they last saw her. So it doesn't seem like she was necessarily just dropping them off. It seems like she was actually there for a little bit. Does that make sense?
Exactly. So that's something that we caught on too. It's like 1 minute it said that she dropped him off and they just saw her leaving the house, but then it's another minute they're saying that she was distraught and outraged and she wasn't herself. So which one is it? Like, which story is right?
Yeah. Kenitha, you were going to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say that whether Kai is happy, sad, having a good or bad day, Kai is very over dramatic. So I thought someone could take her, that erratic behavior they're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with Portia, but at the same time, say her and Jason were fussing or fighting, and that could have been, where that erratic behavior comes from.
Okay.
Because she can be overly dramatic.
Okay.
But just to go back to what you said about, did we find out if the house was searched? Yeah. So, at some point we were told that the house was searched. When it was searched, we have no idea. Like we say, at the point that she was reported missing, 4 days had passed. Anything can happen in 4 days.
Yeah.
And then it was another 10 days after the case was reported that this detective, took charge of the case. So we don't honestly know what happened in those 10 days.
Right.
Actually, from that Monday, just so we're correct, it's 10 days total from the day her car went missing.
Gotcha.
Here's something too, just to go off of when it comes regarding like the technology or resources that the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office has. So, before Kaya went missing, we had no idea that a woman had just went missing 2 weeks prior.
Yeah.
So when we find that out, we're like, oh my gosh, like maybe there's, somebody over here snatching women up. Maybe it's human sex trafficking or whatnot. So we started calling everybody. We called the state attorney's office. We called the FBI. And the FBI told us that they could not get involved unless the local police department or the state department called to get them involved. We talked to the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office and we asked them, why aren't you getting the FBI involved? And their exact words to us was, we have the same resources and technology that the FBI has that we can do ourselves. So if you can tell us that, why can't you tell us what officer moved that car off the train tracks that day?
Yeah, it's a really tough question to answer. And I don't know, there's much different expertise in the FBI. They get called into local cases all the time because they have different skill sets. They have different labs. They're able to do things a little bit different. So that's, but I look into enough of these cases. I speak to enough families that I know they hear things very similar to what you're being told to. Yeah. What are these guys going to do? And and with law enforcement, I frequently find this tone of authority that it's like their area, it's their thing, and they don't want other people coming into it. I mean, even right from the start of the story about her car, you've got them playing which jurisdiction is this,
Exactly.
But to run that game in a missing persons case of this nature with this much amount of time that could lead to a different type of investigation, I think that you'd be wanting to circle the wagons, bring in all the resources you can and try to help on this.
Exactly. And what was the point of having Homeland Security come in and search if the FBI wasn't involved from the get-go?
That's a great question. Have you tried reaching out to Jason or the friend or the father? Have you tried making direct contact with these people and talking to them at all?
We have tried to reach out to Jason. Yes, we have.
And have you been lucky in that, or is he just not cooperating?
He's not responsive.
Okay.
He's not responsive. He's not reaching out as a, if he, wants the title of boyfriend or says that Kaya was his girlfriend, he's not reaching out as a caring boyfriend wanting to know, if there's anything I can do to help. Maybe I can sit down with you. Maybe I can go over a timeline. This is what we did on this day, or, she mentioned this, or she was, this way or that way. He hasn't said anything to us, hasn't tried to help with anything. And like Mama said, there's no contact. He might not personally have her phone number, but there's social media. He knows where she lives at. If he wanted to get in contact, he could get in contact with her.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do we know if he is cooperating with law enforcement? Are you hearing from the investigator that he's cooperating with them?
As far as we know,
Yes.
we know that he has been interviewed a few times by the detectives.
Okay. We had a lot of locals that actually commented on this video. Some of them are saying that the railroad tracks were actually out of order at the time due to construction. Do you guys know if that's accurate or not?
That is accurate,
correct.
yes.
Okay. So even leaving the car on the tracks, if you were hoping to, have the car be hit by a train or something, it just wasn't going to happen. There was no train running on the tracks at that time.
No.
Have you heard any reasonable explanations for why she might have left the car at that spot? Was there anything like the car running out of gas, one of the tires going flat? I mean, anything in terms of a reasonable explanation?
No, there was nothing wrong with the car.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Car still runs right now. Has
Yeah.
2 new tires on it that she had gotten the week before.
Was the car ever taken in? I know that they said they did do some forensic testing on it. Did they take it into their custody for that and then return it? Is it back at your home now?
Yes.
Okay.
They took it that Monday, and I have it now. It's back in my yard.
I'm just curious, how long did they hold on to it for?
I want to say around 6 to 8 weeks. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
It was a good amount of time, because during that time too, you're in fog mode. Things don't you can't remember but I know it was like 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, it was quite a while that they had it.
Yeah. And I don't think we've let the audience know any of this, but Kenitha, you're sitting in Kaya's room right now, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. And I imagine it's hard to already be in there. And of course, now we're talking about this case. You have her vehicle there. There's so many different reminders that you're seeing all over the place. Does that help fuel you even more, seeing all this? Or is it something that kind of chips away at you in those quiet moments?
It chips away in the quiet moments. Matter of fact, I went and stayed with Portia and my son for a bit, just to get away from all the memories, because she was raised here. And sometimes I keep the door shut. Sometimes I open the door because I want to remember her. But I've had to go through the house and take out stuff that's everyday, face wash, razors, and move them back here to her room so that it's not a reminder on those, quiet moments.
Yeah.
That are hard.
Yeah. And Portia, you're supporting a man that he's missing his only sister, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
It's definitely been hard, trying to be supportive for him, but also, for Mama Taylor and then everybody else in the family.
Yeah.
We're doing the best that we can, taking it one day at a time. We know that we're better together. So no matter what happens, we have to stay together as a family union and support each other through it. We all, have our good days and our bad days. Some days are worse than others, but we just do whatever we can to make it through together.
Yeah. And I think just watching how you guys are speaking about this together here today, it's very obvious to me how much you've got each other's back through all this. And it's a terrible thing when you're facing something like this, because you don't know how long it's going to go. And you really need that support structure, and you need to keep increasing your team and just pulling everyone that you can in to help you with this. And obviously, please know that I'm here for you guys to help in any other way that I can. If there's more information that you need to get out there, I don't know, is there any fundraising efforts or anything that have been started around this yet?
So we did have a GoFundMe page at one point to raise funds to get a private investigator, and we did do that. Currently, we do not have anything set up. We also did another fundraiser. These are the shirts that we're wearing that says, "Have you seen Kaya Taylor?" with her picture on it. We did a fundraiser for that also to, just bring awareness so, people know her name and her face, because you'd be surprised that even though that area is so small and Plant City is such like a well-knit community, there's still people that don't even know who Kaya Taylor is or that she's missing. So just always, we're trying to just get her face and her name out there so people know who she is. If they hear something or just, casually talking to someone, it might spark something that they might remember, or they, will pay more attention to their surroundings as to what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've already had a case of that in this case with the person that saw the police officer move the car. I mean, it's like sometimes you need the eyes and ears of everyone else to put these pieces together. I also heard in comments on the last video that people were surprised. They had heard about this case kind of originally when it kicked up, and then over the past few months, everything just quieted down, and they just, it falls out of mind. You don't even know that this person's still missing and that there's a family that's hurting and they need help around this.
And I think unfortunately, like, COVID has a lot to play with it also, because, we've never experienced something like this in our lifetime. Like, this was a world pandemic that affected everyone. So resources kind of shifted, so we know that has taken, the focus off, but we refuse and we will not allow for Kai's name and her period to be lost during this time. It is our duty. It's our obligation as her family to make sure that we know what happened to her, justice is served, and we make sure that whatever the outcome is, that Kaya is at peace with the situation and we can have closure as a family, because this is something that we wouldn't wish for any person to experience, any person at all. Like, our society does not prepare us how to deal with when we have a missing loved ones, in a sense that they just disappeared into thin air. No one saw anything. No one heard anything. When deep down inside, our society, we cannot be that lost as a society as a whole, where we do not pay attention to our surroundings. And women and children can just go up missing in broad daylight. If you go to the area where her car was found at, especially during the time of the season it was February. Everyone knows Plant City is well known for their strawberries. It was strawberry season. Mm-hmm. So where her car was found, it was a busy area. There's a huge strawberry farm there. There's semis coming in and out of. There's tons of farm workers out in the fields daily, picking strawberries, loading trucks out. All the time that we've ever been out there, we just cannot believe that someone didn't see something or hear something with the amount of traffic we see going through there.
It's a really good point.
So,
and then you've also got this discovery of the shoes that doesn't make any sense. You find them on a drainage ditch that's at the side of the road that's close to the train tracks, but somehow all the searchers missed it.
Well, we searched it ourselves personally, and those shoes weren't there.
Yeah.
So we know for a fact that someone put those shoes there, because they were not there.
Did the shoes show any weathering? Because you had mentioned that it was rainy through some of that too, right?
The shoes didn't have, there was none on there.
Yeah. And those have been taken, I suppose, as evidence. Are they being held by the sheriff's department?
Yes, as far as we know, yes.
Okay. So you've mentioned a few times the disappearance of Veronica Reyes Diaz that happened a few weeks before. Do you think that there is still potential that these cases are connected in some way?
Honestly, we don't. At first, considering it was, brand new when it first happened, and we had found out that a woman had went missing, 2 weeks prior, but now knowing more information that we do know, that we've been, told, we don't believe that they have anything to do with each other. Although, you know, our hearts go out for her family and we pray that she's found. You know, we know she has some children, but we don't feel that it has anything to do with it.
So how can the public help you guys at this point? I know that you've got the Facebook page, facebook.com/finding Cieha. Is it just follow you at this page, look for updates? Are there future search opportunities coming up? How can we help you?
Yeah, so definitely we do post on the Facebook page every single day just to show her picture, to continue to spread her story, to get her face and name. And then we also, on a monthly basis as a family, try and put something together where we're just meeting in small groups to pass out flyers in the area to just let people know that Kai is still missing. We're still desperately searching for her. We're not going to give up. They're going to know us personally in their community until we find her. Yeah. Because there's no way with that area in that town being so small that someone did not see something. So our main focus has just to continue to have our presence known in that community, that we are looking for Cieha. We're not giving up. We're not giving in, and we're not going anywhere until we get the answers and we find her. So just following the page. And then also, you know, if we do searches or whatnot, like we had a prayer vigil for the 6-month mark that, you know, she's been missing. We try to have something planned every single month, so we're continuing to be in the community. So we post all updates and information that we are able to share, you know, while still protecting her case, because we do want justice served. We do want to know what happened to our girl. We post on our Facebook. Yeah. Now, we do know that other people have created accounts and whatnot, but the family runs the Finding Cieha page on Facebook, and we post everything that you need to know on that page. So just liking, following, sharing, keeping her name and her face out there. We feel like as a family, that's all we can do right now at this point, because, you know, we've even asked the detectives, what else can we do? Is there anything else that we should be doing that we're not doing? And they just basically say, you know, what you're doing with the social media platform is very beneficial and keep doing it. So basically that's where we're at. That's what we're doing.
Kenetha, do you know what a force of nature Portia is in terms of her efforts on this?
What was one of our worst hurricanes? I know we had Andrew, and so she's like a force of Katrina.
Yeah.
Hurricane Katrina with this. Yes, that is, she has been my rock and my support system, and I just am so grateful to have her. I've even had that opportunity one time when I was visiting with my son, and we were just sitting outside, and I told him, I had tears in my eyes, but I told him, I said, thank you so much for bringing her into my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you, both of you ladies, so much for sharing your time with us today. And I hope that putting this out there again, raising exposure again, we can get the right tips called in. Anything that you wanted to say before we signed off here?
We are so thankful. We are so grateful. We're so blessed from the amount and the outpour of love and support that we've received from the community, from complete strangers. But also on the other hand, we've also feel like, you know, as a family that we've been victimized also.
Yeah.
No one asked for a family member to go missing. You know, prior to this happening, our family's very private. We keep to ourselves. We're not real big on social media. Like, this has all been a learning curve for us to even learn how to use these tools so we can be successful to continue to spread the word that, you know, Kai is missing and get her name and face out there. But what people fail to realize is Kai is our loved one. Cieha is my sister-in-law. Kai is my husband's only sister. Kai is my mother-in-law's only daughter.
Yeah.
We know her personally. You can't speculate or pass judgment or get opinions on someone based off a 10-second video clip or what you've heard from someone else saying, and then try and portray and put that same spotlight on the family. Because we've been very open and honest, and like we've mentioned here earlier today, we did not agree with what she was doing. We did not condone that. We did not support that. But at the end of the day, no matter what choices or decisions that Cieha made, she does not deserve the treatment that she's getting. She's our loved one. She deserves better, and she deserves to be found.
Yeah.
No one deserves, no matter what they have done as a person, who they are as a person, what you might think someone should and shouldn't be doing. No one deserves to be mistreated and just thrown in the trash like garbage.
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that I'm always trying to kind of work against, because you've got certain cases mainstream media won't even cover. Like if you're talking about someone that has a really bad drug addiction or someone that's a sex worker and all that, forget it. Trying to find the coverage on that. And it's tough because when a missing loved one, when you have this happen, it affects so many other people. And regardless of what their lifestyle choice was or what they were going through, the struggles that they had, which first of all of us have struggles and all of us have moments of weakness and we need help through that.
Exactly.
But when you have a missing loved one like this, it leaves a hole in a family, a community, a group of friends. It affects so many other people. We really need to rally around each other and try to help each other through this. So I'm glad that you're finding those people out there, because they are out there too on social media. But I also know what you're talking about, that river somehow runs both directions. And sometimes there's people that aren't so helpful too. I totally get that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You think that people forget that, before Kaya went missing, we all had our own personal lives, and
right.
We all still have careers. We have families that we have to take care of. We have other obligations. But in a sense, while we're still trying to fulfill those duties, our life has been at a standstill. It's been at a stopping point. It feels like we're reliving February all over every single day, almost, in a sense, because we're missing something.
Yeah.
We're not whole right now. We're broken. Every single family member is feeling that. So that's why we just always go back to, we're better together. We're stronger together. We need each other. And in order for us to be able to get through this as a family, we have to lean and depend on each other.
Yeah.
So regardless of what someone sitting behind a computer screen is typing, saying, well, this is what they feel or this is what they think, we still have to get up and go to work every day. We still have to fulfill those other obligations on top of making sure we continue to make sure that Kai is not lost during the shuffle of our ever-changing society and everything that continues to goes on.
Seriously. Yeah, this is a terrible year to be facing something like this. Yeah.
Yeah, because we all know time changed and nothing remains the same. But in a sense, we still have to fulfill those other obligations and duties that we have in our personal lives, on top of continue to get her name out there. It gets hard. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, we've all had our moments where we're just like, oh my gosh, every single day we wake up and it's something different on social media. And it's hard to not take it personal when you have a complete stranger saying something about your loved one and you're like, you have no idea what you're talking about, or you don't think we've already thought that.
Yeah.
So it takes a team. And, thankfully, not only do, we have each other, but Mama has some amazing family. 2 of her sisters have been really involved and played a huge part in making sure that we're staying up to date on social media, and we're posting on certain pages, and we've joined other missing groups and support systems just to make sure that we're trying to cover all our bases. Like, we couldn't do this alone by ourselves. We have an amazing team that's behind us, that's supporting us and helping us continue to get through this every single day.
Yeah. And remember that love that you all are missing from Kaya right now, you guys got to kind of step up and fill it in for each other a little bit. So it's going to be a little bit more work on each of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing that. Those types of insights are so invaluable to other families that are also dealing with these situations, and other families that I talk to. I'm able to share this kind of stuff with them too. So thank you so much for sharing all that with us.
Thank you very much.
You got it. So that is it for the interview. A lot more information, and I'm concerned. I know the family's concerned, especially with that piece of information about the fact that Jason didn't try calling her phone. That's pretty troubling for me, and I'm sure a lot of you have thoughts on that as well. As always, I ask we please remain respectful. You heard the perfect example of it right at the end of today's episode. These are real families dealing with some very tough issues and trying to maintain their life around that as well. So let's talk about it in the comments. But yeah, this is, I don't know. I'm just heartbroken for what this family is facing. And I cannot wait for the answers to come to them. Before I end today's video, I'd like to thank several new patrons. Thank you, Chloe C. Thank you, Amy Hunter, Lorena Hunter, and Karen H. Also, thank you to Sarah Alba Medina and Melissa Stefan for increasing your pledges. If you'd like to support the channel, please visit lordandarts.com. And please help me and help this family. Share this video. Let's get this interview out there. Let's get more eyes, ears, and hearts open to Kaya's story. Take care, everyone. I'll see you back here on Friday with a brand new episode of Brainscratch on the Lord and Arts channel.